Over the past month I've owned my Mark 8 GTI, I've really grown to like this car. I've gotten mainly used to it, mainly gotten used to all the features, what the car is like to drive every single day, what to like to live with. But over that month as well, there were also a lot of the things I found out that I just not particularly a big fan of, and obviously not every car is perfect. So today I'm going to tell you 5 things I hate about my Mark 8 Volkswagen GTI. This is Shep's Garage, and I hope you guys do enjoy this video. If you are new to my channel and if you like seeing my face on your screen, don't forget to please click that subscribe button if you do like my videos. It's completely free, it doesn't cost anything, and doing so you get Mark 8 GTI content, which is not very common on YouTube, and you also do get awesome great car related content videos almost once a week or every so like that. I know I'm gonna be getting comments down below after this video. I can already hear those comments, and I can already sense those comments going down after this video goes up. Why are you hating on a Mark 8 GTI? I got so many comments on my 5 things I hate about my Audi, or my mom's Audi Q8 video, basically saying, why would you hate on that type of car? Now, for those people out there, take these 5 things I hate as more like improvements. They aren't that big of a deal. They don't impact the driving experience. They just take them as like improvements if they ever make a Mark 8.5 model or whatever, something like that. Enough talking out of the way. Let's start off with the first thing I hate about my Mark 8 Volkswagen GTI, and that is starting off with front wheel drive. Now, if you didn't know, all Volkswagen GTI models are front wheel drive, which means that the engine is all the power from the engine is going to the front wheels, and then the remaining goes to the rear wheels. So it's mainly driving the front wheels. Now, this isn't that big of an issue, and I'm so used to obviously driving all-wheel drive cars. I've driven my mom's Audi Q8, my dad's Tesla Model 3 Performance, and those are all-wheel drive cars, obviously. However, having a front-wheel drive car is it's definitely a different feeling, obviously, and it's something you definitely have to get used to. Now, why is this a thing I hate? Well, when you actually start accelerating in this car or whatever, when you go above around, let's say, over 3,000 RPM, the front wheel spin is it loses traction for a good 5 seconds, which means you have to let off the gas pedal to let it gain traction again, and then once it gains traction, you can go on your way if you ever want to accelerate at a good amount at a stopped red light or something like that. I have done this a couple times on my Mark 8 GTI, and I have to say it is definitely highly annoying that at a car like obviously a GTI at this price point, there isn't an all-wheel drive option. Now, I know I'm going to get comments saying, well, if there was an all-wheel drive option, there wouldn't be a point for the Golf R. The Golf R is all-wheel drive, but there wouldn't be a point for the Golf R. So I know this may not come as a reality, but if they can have an option, like it doesn't have to be standard, but just an option to make the GTI all-wheel drive, maybe in the Autobahn fully loaded model, I can definitely see that being a possibility. I don't think VW is ever going to do it because there wouldn't be a point for the Golf R at that point, but it would be nice to have an all-wheel drive option for those who do live in climates where, like Massachusetts, for example, where we get snow on the ground, obviously, and it's kind of hard to get grip. And yes, I know this car is running on all-season tires, Pirelli P0s, which are very, very good tires, but I'm going to be getting new tires eventually that do grip a lot better for this front-wheel drive car. So, yeah. Front-wheel drive isn't super ideal, but it's definitely one thing I do hate about this car, and I just really wish it was all-wheel drive, but knowing VW, they're probably never going to make an all-wheel drive GTI. Alright, let's move on to the second thing I hate about my Mark 8 GTI, and that is moving to the interior, and that is the quality. Now, in my driving review, I mainly talked about how the quality in this car, it's exceptional for a car of this class. yes, it isn't the most high quality Volkswagen out there, but it also isn't the least high quality Volkswagen out there. There is the seats, for example, are actually higher quality than I thought of. They are very, very high quality, if this is even real leather or not, perforated leather. They're bolstery. I love the seats in this car. The steering wheel is definitely higher quality with the perforations on the sides. Definitely like the dashboard materials are also really nice. Up here is like a nice soft material. This honeycomb material is pretty nice, but it's when you get down lower, obviously the materials that you don't really touch that often, like down here right by the cup holders, obviously, and maybe down here by the doors, obviously, and over here as well. And what gets me the most, though, is those are not really that big of an issue. What's big of an issue is that the entire rear door panel is plastic. Like literally, the entire rear door panel is plastic. So as you can see, like comparing it to the front door, you can see that this front door has this soft type material up here with the honeycomb trim here with some leather and then the plastic going like there. This doesn't even have that honeycomb trim piece, so it's literally just all plastic with some leather and a speaker, which in my opinion isn't super ideal. Now again, for people that do buy this car, they're definitely going to be using the back seat as obviously a fun, sporty, practical car. They're going to be using the back seat for kids or whatever, and the fact that like the back seat isn't as nice as the front seat is also kind of like disappointing, I guess. You can also see that the rear seats material is the same, but it doesn't have the perforations like at the front, which I found quite interesting. Not super important, but just something I noticed back here. But again, I'm not sitting in the rear seat, so it doesn't really matter that much. But for the plastics in this car, they definitely could have used like better plastics or at least better materials in this car. Now I get why they put plastic around the cup holders, probably because when you put drinks in so it doesn't damage the nicer material. But again, they probably could have used better materials for this type of, or class of car, I should say, when you definitely are paying in this price point. At least this is an SE, if you're wondering, so it is a middle trim level. So it's kind of interesting that they kind of, you know, cheaped out the materials in a way. Alright, so the third thing I hate about my Mark 8 GTI is the infotainment system, and especially when you start this car up. So I've been here, this car has been sitting for maybe 5 minutes maybe, but it's really when you start the car up cold. Now, what I mean that is that the car hasn't been used in a while, basically. So when you do that, the screen is like literally irresponsible for a good 2 minutes. Let me show you. So I have my foot on the brake right now, and I'm gonna start the car, and let me just show you the screen. So here we go. So I literally am trying to respond to the screen. It is super laggy and slow. It's actually much worse than this usually, but okay, here we go. So as you can see, it's really laggy and slow. It's actually much worse than this actually when you mainly start the car up cold in the morning. Usually the screen is like irresponsible. It doesn't respond to touch or anything. It's like literally frozen for a good 2 minutes, and then once the car warms up, it does warm up and it does actually speed up quite a bit. But overall, it does speed up quite a bit, like once the car's warmed up and everything. I've only been stopped here for maybe 10 minutes, and that's how freezy it is. But as well as integrating the climate controls within the screen, that's also something I'm not too big of a fan of. That kind of goes in the same category of the screen. This screen, they have to speed up when you're driving, or at least have some sort of haptic feedback within the screen. So I know you do have a clicky type of thing going on here. Like you can listen here. You can hear the clicky type of theme or like sound, but there isn't like a physical like click, which is kind of disappointing. So in the 8.5 generation, I would love to see this infotainment system be approved. Again, this is the first generation system in this new Mark 8, so I have a feeling that this system will be improved over time majorly. But again, the screen does need have some room for improvement, and that is one thing I definitely do particularly hate about this car. All right, the fourth, second to last thing I hate about my GTI Mark 8 is the soft limiter at 4,000 RPM. So if you are unaware, lately all these newer cars have software limiters. So basically, the engine basically limits the RPM at a standstill to go over 4,000 RPM. This is mainly a big deal for the people that actually want to like maybe rev their exhaust or for some reason like that. So don't worry, I have the engine temperatures warmed up. The car's all warmed up and everything. Here's what I mean. So I'm opening my door real quick, and you can see if this actually will go, if this system part will go away. Let me just roll the window down instead. Here we go. So as you can see, it won't go past 4,000. That's quite unfortunate, obviously, considering that like the point of this really good sounding exhaust is to actually like, you know, rev it. It's kind of disappointing that they put a rev limiter at 4,000 RPM. Not that big of a deal, but it is a very minor annoyance. When I want to rev the car, literally all you hear is it revving to 4,000 RPM. It's kind of disappointing. All newer cars have it. Eventually they were going to do it anyway. But again, that is definitely one thing I definitely do hate about this car. And the final thing I hate about my Mark 8 GTI is some of the features that it doesn't come with. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I feel like that Volkswagen should have added some features to it to kind of get the full value of the car. Now, I'm saying this car is worth every penny, in my opinion. The price definitely reflects this car. It is the most powerful GTI I've driven, or there is, and as well as what you get for the money. What I'm talking about is that, like, for example, this car doesn't have auto dimming mirrors. It doesn't have power folding mirrors. It doesn't have a power passenger seat, which it probably should have that. And it doesn't have like a heads-up display that's in the higher trim model. So those type of things that I'm talking about that I feel like that this car should have came with, but it didn't. I don't know if those are in the higher models in Autobahn or whatever it's called. I think it's called the Autobahn. But again, minor annoyance, obviously, that it is not included in the SE, which like does have a lot of the features of the Autobahn, but overall, it's a minor annoyance. It's not that big of an issue, and overall, this car is awesome, and I can care less about those. But again, when it does come in my mind, it is something that I do hate about this car. And those are 5 things I hate about my Mark 8 Volkswagen GTI. I absolutely love this car, even though I do hate these things. There are maybe some things I hate about it. It's an awesome car, and I am loving it so far. Now, if there's anything else you guys want to see with this Mark 8 GTI, please comment in down below. I'm willing for suggestions, and your guys' suggestions help me produce better content and become a better YouTuber. So that is it. Let me know what other content you guys want to see, and without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.